The Centorians have been growing their city and building their first capital. With all the technology that they have, this is happening in a very quick matter. Now, they know that they need to become more self-sufficient, so they will focus on building more industries. The goal is to not have to import any goods or oil, wood, agricultural products and make more special products to export and make a very good and solid economy. The strategy that I am using to build this city is to have people to do exactly what I want them to do. In this area, I want people only to go to work to the farms or to the stores that are in the farms. So I'm placing them very isolated from all the other activity that the city already have. So their easiest activity that they can do is to work where I want them to work. Since I am placing them in a very isolated area, I had to build an interchange so they can go from the highway to the city. And in here you see me building something that maybe most of you don't recognize, but this is a simple trumpet interchange. The only stuff that I am doing is that I am customizing the way that the roads are and using the traffic manager to make them do exact things that I want, and using the intersection marking tool to mark what I want to symbolize in the road. But this is something that you could do with only a few mods. Only you need the traffic manager, the move it, road anarchy, the intersection marking tools, and the node controller. These are very basic mods that any builder needs to have if you are not building in vanilla or in console. Farms don't tend to need the big amount of workers, and I am aiming here to build like a low density residential area with only a few buildings and stuff, because this area is very small and I realized that maybe I could need more people than what the area could hold in low density. So I started building something here like what you could find in a village that works mostly in farms. In this area, we are building a simple grid. That's nothing that you could find in most of the farming villages because these areas are more randomly developed with those weird shapes and stuff. But in here, we are aiming to bring as much people as we can, and for doing that, we need to stick to the grid. And that's going to be the same for the farm, and this is going to be because of the asset that we're going to be using, and our main goal is to fill as much space with the assets as we can. We don't want to have empty spaces or to use things with weird shapes and stuff, and we are very limited with what we can use from the Steam Workshop. We are going to be sticking to what the industry's DLCs have to offer. And once again, I highly recommend you to buy this DLC because it's the one that provides with mostly the best asset that has the better game mechanics. So if you have not the industry DLCs, I highly recommend you to get it. One thing that we wanted to implement in here was to have the farm separated from the residential area and have no road connection, so people can only get to the farms or to the shops that are in the farms through the cable car. But this brought a big issue since we have the interchange in the residential area. The trucks that are produced in the farm areas have nowhere to go, so we need to build a train cargo terminal, and we had to build a huge tunnel that went under the mountains to communicate with the industry area. But at this point of the build, the train tracks are only connected to the outside of the city from one side of the city, and mostly all the stuff that came from the farms wanted to go to the other direction, so they came through train, they got to trucks, and they got to the highway system, and that made a very big traffic issue. So I had to once again spend a lot of time in fixing the traffic, but this time was because of the cargo, not because of the people moving into the city. Before I leave this farm area and focusing working in another place of the city, I have to provide them with some services that keep them safe, like police or fire station and stuff like that. But I don't want to be placing this big asset in this small area. So what I did was that I went to the Steam Workshop and downloaded some props that look like a sheriff station or guard tower, and I placed them in some areas, and next to them I placed some service cube. These service cubes are so useful because they don't cost too much and you can hide them easily under the trees or under some props, and you can provide some small areas like this with all the services that they need without having to be placing all the vanilla asset. In here I hide the medical facility, the police station, the fire station, and even the crematorium under these trees with those service cubes, and this area has all the services that they need. Right now you're gonna see my failed attempt of bringing the capital of the industry area, let's call it like that, to the upper side of the city. This was supposed to be the area where we are going to produce all the special goods and to be exporting them to the other sides of the city or maybe to the outside and produce money. But I really failed in to get this area all the goods and stuff that were produced in the other side of the city. I don't know why we were not able to connect all the tracks and to be able to bring them to here, and we had to move this to the lower part of the city where the first industry is placed, and right there all was working fine. But we had another issue, is that we are really bringing a lot of traffic to this area, and this is where I spend the most of the time in this build, in the traffic fix, as I told you in the intro. But at the end we were able to make this work, and we could go and move on to the other part of the city that we were going to be building, that was the first capital. For those of you that like short video, I am so sorry, but I thank you to make it this far into the video. I had this video so long because I was building some important part of the city, and I ran to these traffic issues and I had to stop and go and fix them. But this fix made some major changes of how the industry area was shaping, that I could not cut it out from the episode. I had to include it because I don't want you to be watching one episode and in the other part you see that this area had a major change and was not included. One of the issues that I had to fix 3 times was the entry road from the highway to the industry area, and that was because at the first time we had it next to the cargo train terminal, and this was causing a lot of traffic. Then I moved it to some meters away, and then I figured out that all of the trucks were coming to get to the cargo train terminal to deliver their stuff. And another stuff was that most of the trucks that were coming to from the cargo train terminal wanted to go to the highway, because they wanted to go to other outside connection, and that was an issue that I had to work slowly to be able to fix the traffic that we had in here. Even right now that the episode is all finished, I had small amount of traffic accumulating in this area here. Another thing that brought a lot of traffic to this area over here was that we moved the industry area to this in here, and now everybody wants to bring all their goods to our storages and to the industries, and this is causing a lot of traffic. But we try to fix it by giving them only one way to get to the storage area, but this was like part of the solution. The issue is not 100% solved, but right now I think that we can work. The traffic at the end of the episode end up being 75%, which is not that bad, but when you see that all the traffic is in only one area, you know that you have to work on that. Now that we are building the first capital of the city, I want to aim for something that doesn't bring all the traffic issues that we had in the past, so we can avoid this traffic fix that gives me a lot of headaches in this area. So what we are going to aim for is to build a high density mixed use commercial and residential area only for pedestrians and biking. For doing that, the first thing that I had to do is to build this massive parking lot that can handle all the people that will live in here. And this has to be very big because we're going to be putting a lot of huge buildings and very high rises. So since we are playing with the realistic population mod, this mod will make these buildings to be able to handle a lot of households. So we had to be ready for that. The other step to be able to accomplish that is to build this area with roads that only allow the services and emergency vehicles to ride this area here. I'm going to be using these pedestrian roads that I've downloaded, the blank ones, and you can do it with whatever road that you have, but you're gonna need the help of the traffic manager, as you can see in here, to ban all the vehicles that you don't want. In this area over here, we're gonna be needing some services. Like you can see, there is high school and maybe later an university and other stuff like that. And since we are doing something like more epic than what we have in the lower parts of the city, we're going to go to something more detailed. Like what you see here, I am placing a football field next to the high school to make it look like this high school has its own football field, and making this park that gives like this touch of detail to the high school, so we can make it look more special than the other ones that are in the city. One thing that maybe you have noticed is that I tend to include a lot of blank roads in my collection. This is mostly because I think that at some point of the build I'm gonna need to make a custom-made road to make some area to look a little bit better, and this in here is like the time for me to use them. That I'm building something that could handle more cars and bikes, and I wanted to look like the entrance of a capital, and that's why I tend to have at least a few blank roads. So we are here in the final parts of the video. I know I don't want to do a long outro, so I'm just gonna tell you that if you like or dislike this video, you can let me know in the two buttons that we have under the video. If you like or dislike, you can hit anyone that you want. And if you want to keep on watching the series and get notified whenever that I upload a new episode, you can hit the subscribe button and the notification so you can keep on touch with us. So I hope that you have a great day and see you in the next one.